Hi, in this video, we're going to be talking about yet another Windows tweaking and customization app, but this one has been around for some time now, but they've been updating it throughout the years. So it's called the Ultimate Windows Tweaker. So we're on 5.2 right now as of this video, and this one's made for Windows 11. But I will say right off the bat here that you will find that some of the tweaks will not work because, as you probably know, Microsoft likes to block the things that we enjoy. So they prevent us from making these changes that used to work in the past. All right, so I'm also recording at a kind of a strange resolution here, a little higher than usual because they haven't really updated the UI on this tool. So if I shrink down the resolution to make it look, larger for you, then it chops off the bottom of the screen. So hopefully everything's fitting okay. You might have to watch this full screen to kind of see what I'm doing here. All right, so once you download the tool, you just extract it and you'll have the files here. So there's nothing to install. You just have your executable. So I'm going to make a shortcut here just in case we need to close File Explorer. All right, so I'm going to run it here. So of course you'll need to be an admin to use this. All right, so it's going to look a little fuzzy too because I had to bump up the screen size here to make it so it's not too small. All right, so when you first open it, you'll have your system information that tells you about the hardware on your computer. You could run an assessment here or view the index information here and run it from here. I never thought this was too accurate. You could use the System File Checker, SFC Scan Now, or the DISM tool for the system image. And what you should do right off the bat is create a system restore point just in case something goes wrong and you need to try and hopefully fix it. And then at the bottom here, we have some favorites. So let's say we want the taskbar tools on the main screen here. We could add that. Now we could just click on it and go right to that section. And then you could come back here, add more, remove it, whatever you want to do. All right, so we're going to go through these sections here and try some of them out. But like I said before, some of these won't work. So you'll kind of find out as you go along here. All right, so we have the customization section here, and you'll notice we have several tabs, including a Windows 11 tab here. Like for example, I tried this one recently and it doesn't work. And even the registry edit that makes this work no longer works. All right, so this section here I don't think has too many exciting options here. And by the way, you could apply your tweaks from down here as you do them, or you could just check a bunch and then apply them all at once, but I kind of like to apply them as I do them just to make sure they're working. Otherwise, I forget what I checked. All right, let's check out the taskbar here. So if you want to change the icons, let's see if this one works. I haven't actually tried this one here. So we'll apply it. And you can see here we're kind of hanging, so it might take a moment for it to come back, and if not, you'll have to do a Control-Alt-Delete and open Task Manager and then run Explorer.exe to get things back. And what I've noticed is the ones that no longer work anymore tend to be the ones that cause this kind of hang here. All right, it came back, but you can see here they are not any larger. And one thing I've noticed too is sometimes when you restart Windows Explorer like it did here, it'll kind of kill your background and make it black. So I might as well just leave it like this. All right, so it's slowly starting to come back here. All right, let's change this back here. All right, let's move on here. All right, let's try this one to remove shortcut arrows from shortcut icons like we have on the desktop. And you can see this one you didn't have to click on apply because it has its own button. All right, so we're slowly coming back here and you can see that our shortcut icons are gone. All right, then we have some easy ones here if you want to change your File Explorer starter from this PC to quick access to even downloads. Let's try this one out here. And we actually did a video on how to set this up with the registry edit, I believe. Okay, so went right to downloads. Let's set this back for now. All right, let's move on to the next tab, Universal UI. Disable the lock screen. Disable changing the lock screen image. Enable slideshow. This might be a good one here if you don't want to get bothered by the look for an app in the store when opening unknown file types. All right, this PC. All right, let's say we wanted power options for this PC. Let's try that out. All right, so now I did Control-Alt-Delete just so I could show you what to do if it's taken too long. So Control-Alt-Delete, Task Manager, and then Run New Task. Actually, it's coming back. You just do Explorer.exe and OK, and then should bring it back faster than waiting for it. All right, now you can see we have power options in this PC, so that worked. All right, so I'll uncheck that to put that back. All right, let's go to Other here. So this might be nice when you're copying files to hide folder merge conflicts. And if they have a little question mark here, you could click on it. It'll open up a web browser, tell you what that does. All right, let's move on to user accounts. So you get enabled a built-in administrator account. So let's try that real quick. So you can see the built-in administrator is there. And I can disable it. And now it's gone. So that's a nice, easy way to do that. So if you want to add a little security, you could have them enter their username, remove shutdown tasks for the login screen. So let's say they're logged off. You don't want them to be able to turn off the computer without logging in first. Disable switching to secure desktop while elevating. Require Control-Delete to log in. One more security there. All right, so I have this message here from last time. So let's try this out here. Let me apply it again just to make sure it's applied. All right, let's go ahead and log off here. And you can see when you close it here, it gives you this message here about some tweaks are applied immediately, some require signing out, and some may need a full restart. So if something doesn't work, you could try restarting the computer and see if that triggers it. All right, so let's log out here. All right, so here's our message. Hi, don't mess things up. Click OK, and then you could put in your PIN. All right, let's open it up again. Okay, then finally for system failure, you have some options here. If you want to see the BSOD information, you could check that. All right, let's go to performance. So not sure if you really want to mess with these unless you know what you're doing. You want to disable some features to try and get a little performance, such as smooth scrolling and edge tab preloading. Disable all background apps, time service. You could even open services from here or resource monitor. All right, settings and privacy. If you want to disable the registry editor like I had before, so if we go to reg edit here, for example, looks like it's going to work. Now it says it's been disabled by your administrator. So let me uncheck that for later so I don't forget. You can do the same for all these other ones, control panel, task manager, and so on. Even UAC. Then you have some Windows security settings such as disabling Windows Error reporting and Windows Defender. Not sure why you'd want to do that necessarily unless you had some other tool you were using. Disable changing the wallpaper. Let's try that one real quick here. All right, you can see that's grayed out, so you can't change the wallpaper there. All right, let's move on to browsers here. Change your default download location, which you could do within the browser, of course. Tab preview delay. Disable the Edge tab preview. Remove Bing button and sidebar, might be nice. And also enable, do you want to close these tabs prompt when you close the browser. All right, let's try out the context menu here. All right, so several tabs. So if you want to add some of these universal apps to the desktop context menu, you could do that. See what this does. News here, for example. So by the way, I'm going to be kind of pausing while it's kind of hanging here, restarting Explorer, so expect it to take a little more time when you do it. All right, let's see what happens here. All right, so we have news here. Not sure how exciting that is, but something you could do. And you can see here I have God mode, which I did from another setting, and then also the accounts setting, which I did from another setting here, which we'll get to. All right, so let's uncheck this, go over to the desktop context menu. So you can see here I have my God mode from before, or right click, show more options, or of course you could hold down shift to skip that. I could open God mode right from here. Might come in handy. And you have all these options as well. Then we have our context menu 2 tab, so it's just an extension of it here. So this is where I did my settings here for account, and you could do these other settings as well. So I'm going to uncheck this for now. You could even do for drives, and also add open command window here option, and even Windows Defender scans from here. Then we have some other menus here. If you want to remove some of these, so let's say you never use 3D print or Paint 3D, not even sure if those are even in Windows 11 any longer, you could check those. If you customize the new menu, let's see if new RTF will work here. All right, there we go, RTF. I guess I could have checked it beforehand, but I'm assuming it works here. All right, so there is your context menu. Let's go to additional here. Use autoplay for all media and devices. That might be a good one to have enabled so it doesn't ask you what to do, assuming you like to use autoplay. Hide interactive icons from notification area down here. Scroll bar width may or may not work. Network tweaks. So you can tell network neighborhood, that's an older setting there. Let's see if that works actually. See if it'll hide the network section in File Explorer. All right, let's open File Explorer here. All right, so network is still there. So that must be for an older version of Windows. That's why it says network neighborhood. All right, then we have some options here if you want to have it start with Windows, integrate with the desktop context menu, or restart Explorer after applying the settings. So that's what it's been doing, but you could disable that. You could export and import your tweaks, enable Windows Photo Viewer. If you don't want to use the Windows Photos app, we did a video on how to do that by itself, by the way. And if you want to edit your OEM information here, you could do that. So this is the information that shows up in the settings app for the computer make and model and so on. All right, then we have some search options here if you want to search for tweaks, and then about. All right, so as you can see, there are some pretty useful tools. I'm not super thrilled how it kind of hangs when it restarts Explorer when it applies them. And sometimes, like I said, you'll have to do Control-Alt-Delete, go to Task Manager, run Explorer EXE to get things back in business. Or of course, you could try and log out or restart and see what that does for you. All right, so I'll put a link in the description where you could download Ultimate Windows Tweaker, and you could see how it works for yourself. Just make sure to do that system restore point before doing anything. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.